As the use of planes grew in the early 20th century, the need for comfort and safety for pilots arose. Flight suits are the garments worn by pilots to maintain comfort and health during flight. They ensure that the pilot stays warm, is safe from debris, and remains conscious. The very first flight suits were created during World War I and designed to be worn in open cockpits, so they needed to provide warmth and safety from debris for the pilot. Temperature was a huge problem due to the lower pressure and immense airflow created by the propellers, which tended to be directly in front of the pilot. Since these planes flew at very low altitudes, oxygen supply was not yet a requirement for flight suits. Most of these suits were made of leather for the protection against debris it provides, along with the protection from the cold of high altitudes. The first leap in flight suit technology was during World War II. Lion Apparel and General Electric created a reliable, electric heated suit designed for use above 30,000 feet. The very first electronically heated suits were actually developed during World War I, but they were too unreliable for use. Electronic failure was responsible for about 75% of all frostbite up to 1943. Temperature is a huge problem at this altitude as skin freezes to any metal in contact. Any aircraft at this altitude would be inoperable due to low temperatures. Later, the need for protection from cold went away with the implementation of pressurized cabins. The first fully pressurized cabin was developed in 1921 after multiple failed attempts. The first attempt met a problem when the turbine that was pumping air in pumped faster than the air release valve could release air. The flight was abandoned after the cabin's pressure became too high. The first widely used military planes to use pressurized cabins were the B-17 and B-29 Superfortress during World War II. The Enola Gay and Boxcar were the B-29s used in the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Pilots and crew members were able to wear much lighter and more comfortable suits in even their regular uniforms. Waist gunners were still required to wear full suits, though, since they shot through open slots in the plane. From World War II until the creation of jet flight, the main function of flight suits was being fire retardant and adequate protection against shrapnel, as pilots and crew members were already safe from the cold and low air pressure. However, with the coming of jet flight, the need for a suit to prevent pilots from blackouts arose. The immense acceleration and maneuverability of jet flight can cause the pilot's blood to flow down to the legs. The lack of blood flow to the brain causes a blackout, where the pilot becomes unconscious and is unable to operate the plane. The average human can withstand 3 to 5 Gs before blacking out, but with the help of the G-suit, a well-trained pilot can withstand up to 9 Gs. The first G-suits were designed in 1940 by Wilbur R. Franks at the University of Toronto. They use bladders that are filled with air or water to create pressure against the body, much like a sphygmomanometer, which doctors use to test your blood pressure. In the 60s, fully pressurized suits, which are essentially spacesuits, were used for the flight of U-2 and SR-71 Blackbird planes. These planes were used for high-altitude surveillance during the Cold War. They needed essentially the same requirements as a spacesuit since they were used at altitudes as high as 85,000 feet. Modern-day flight suits are made of material called Nomex, which is material developed in the 60s by DuPont. The current model's name is the CWU-27P. Nomex is a fire-retardant material that is also light and comfortable for the wearer. These suits are worn extensively in Iraq and Afghanistan in the air and sometimes even on the ground. They are used in planes like the F-19 and F-35. The first spacesuit to be used on a mission was the Russian SK series. It was worn by Yuri Gagarin on the first manned spaceflight. The current spacesuit model are comprised of mostly Nomex. Spacesuits are designed to maintain the health of astronauts in vacuums and extreme temperatures. They are capable of maintaining a safe temperature for operators by regulating the temperature inside the suit. Safe temperatures in the current spacesuit range from negative 156 to 121 degrees Celsius. Spacesuits are fully pressurized and equipped with oxygen tanks and communication systems. Spacesuits are also required to protect astronauts from harmful UV rays and other radiation that can cause cancer. NASA is currently working on a spacesuit which has parts that can be 3D printed during missions. This could help on longer-lasting missions by ensuring that the suits will remain usable throughout the duration of the mission. The first privately owned and operated spacesuits are being developed by the company SpaceX. These suits will be used on private missions in the future. Flight suits are an essential part of the advancement of aerospace technology. They allow pilots and crew members to use the power of our aerospace innovation to its fullest capability. Without them, most of our advancements in aviation would not be usable.